Hello everyone, this is part 3 of What If Naruto Was Abandoned But Found Someone, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Okay, I can do this, I can do this, I can't do this. Naruto, stop fidgeting. Your tails keep hitting me and it's getting annoying. Look, all we gotta do is tell my parents and Iruka-sensei and Tsunade-sama that we're demons now and rulers of a vast kingdom. It'll be easy. Naruto just stared at her like she'd grown another head. After much whining, he had finally fallen asleep last night only for reality to hit him like a sledgehammer to the nuts the next morning. He had found AM and he couldn't be happier, but now he had to inform Tsunade that he wouldn't be around much after the coming year. He'd have to go to his new domain and make decisions and alliances, fight for his people, basically be responsible for everything. The mere thought hurt his head and he began to whine piteously again until Ino whacked him over the head with his notebook that she had been reading again. Seriously, who would have thought his M would have been into naughty stories? The sound of the door flying open brought both of them out of their stupors and Ino quickly hid the offending notebook from Hikaru's eyes. The blonde and pink-haired boy bounded across the floor and springboarded onto the bed, landing in between his father and his new mother, snuggling their tails. The feeling of affection from the nuzzling of her tail brought out motherly instincts in Ino and she grabbed the boy and sat him on her lap, hugging him. Well, good morning, sunshine. How was your night? It was good, Miss Ino. I always sleep good when Genmaki is around. That's good. And what did I tell you about calling me Miss Ino? You can call me Mom, okay? Okay, Mom. There, that's better. Now then, Naruto, we're going and that's final. We're doing it today because Daddy doesn't have any missions and Mom's not working the flower shop. Iruka can find a substitute and I'm pretty sure Tsunade will cancel any appointments she has to hear this. We're going to see Grandma. Yay. I love visiting Grandma, she always gets me snacks and presents. And she beats up Daddy and they're always funny. Ino aired an eyebrow and looked at Naruto, who rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Hey, she says I have no respect for authority and she wants her grandson to grow up respectful. I don't know what she's talking about though. I'm respectful, right? Silence greeted him as all parties present. Genmaki had come in after Hikaru and sat at the end of the bed, just gave him incredulous looks. Right. Oh come on. I'm not that bad. And besides that, now I am authority. That doesn't mean you aren't disrespectful, sweetie. In fact, I'd say that you deserve more punishment than Tsunade-sama gives you. She's pretty lenient with you, you know. Yeah, well, you've never been hit by her either. Touché. But I don't think it hurts as bad as you say it does, you big baby. Tell you what, next time she hits you, okay, it better. How's that sound? Hikaru, of course, made an noise at the notion of K that earned him a bonk on the top of his head from his mother. He pouted and crossed his arms, causing Ino to giggle and K the top of his head. Now Hikaru, don't be such a baby. It doesn't become you. Go get dressed, we're leaving soon. As soon as the boy was out the door, Genmaki stepped forward for any orders. Naruto finally noticed him and gave him a small smile. Genmaki, I think it's time to retrieve the scroll. We've been dormant as a race for too long. It's time we joined the world of summons. And there are 3 people who will sign right off the bat. Genmaki started to bow low, but Naruto leapt off the bed and stopped him by grabbing his head and turning his face back up. Confusion swept over the fox's face until Naruto gave his reason. Genmaki, never bow to me again. I may be king, but I have always been a humble person. You have been my most trusted friend and advisor these past 3 years. I consider you my equal and a dear friend. Never bow in front of me. Stand beside me as I rule. Genmaki looked at his ruler with awe. The old Kyuubi had instilled a sense of fear and respect for power during his rule. If you disobeyed or disrespected us. But now here he was being told that he was seen as an equal and important part of the court. Tears of joy sprang to his eyes and he laughed in happiness. Lord Naruto, you have no idea how happy I am that you are king. Truly we will prosper under you and Lady Ino. I will honor your wishes and I shall never bow before you, but I shall always revere you, my friend. His reward was a genuine smile from Naruto and a rub between the ears. While the two males were enjoying their bonding experience, Ino sat on the bed and watched with pride. This is what made her so special. He could befriend anyone, make anyone feel special, make something from nothing. He had that one intangible that made him a good ruler and even greater friend, kindness. Seeing that the two weren't moving and she really wanted to get this over with, she coughed into her hand until they noticed her. With a nod of his head, Genmaki disappeared to retrieve the fox summoning scroll. Naruto stood and stretched, gaining an appreciative eye from Ino. Noticing her eyeing him up, he sauntered over to her side of the bed and leaned in like he was going to K her. She closed her eyes and waited until she felt his hand envelop her face, scrunching her cheeks into a pucker. Opening her eyes, she saw a playful grin and even more playful glint in his eyes. I think you had enough last night, princess. Now get dressed and we'll do this while my nerve is up. She stood and made towards the closet while Naruto straightened the covers back out. While fluffing the pillows, he found himself wondering what he was forgetting. Suddenly, it came to him. Ino, didn't you hide my notebook under your pillow? A reply of, yeah, came from the deep recesses of the closet. Then why? Well, I can't find it, and if you don't have it then. Hikaru. X. The procession of the Uzumakis down the streets of Konoha was a spectacle to behold. They turned heads everywhere even though they weren't trying to. It's just when you see three people and a fox, laughing and enjoying the day like a family, it's a little unsettling. Not to mention that they all looked regal. The two adults had an almost ethereal glow about them and warmth was emanating from them. The small boy, riding on the back of a Great Dane-sized fox, was laughing happily. But what stunned most, aside from their attitudes, was the clothing all were wearing. Naruto, much to the delight of women and chagrin of men, was decked out in clothes befitting a man of status. His black slacks were immaculate and fell over his polished leather boots. His shirt of orange silk, still hasn't given up on that ridiculous color, had black flames licking a line across his sea. His battle coat flowed majestically behind him and gave him an aura of power. The Hittite of the Toad Sennin adorned his brow and his smile exuded happiness and his eyes shone with power. His walking beside him was the object of much envy and hatred. The women were all still jealous of her for stealing Naruto from bachelorhood, giving them little to no chance to have him, since he seemed so happy with her. The streets were almost flooding with drool from the males of Konoha as she passed by, hanging on the arm of her king. Instead of her normal black shirt and skirt, she had opted to spice things up a little with color. Digging as far into her wardrobe as possible, she had come out with a red skirt, a black shirt emblazoned with a gold-schooled fox, and her shoes were the heeled sandals with fishnet leggings. Her birthday present from Naruto was proudly on display, a royal purple battle coat, fitted to her size, with the kanji for queen on the back. Her hair pulled back into the familiar ponytail with a diamond scrunchie. Nobody could accuse Naruto of being cheap when it came to his and her Hittite around her waist. They made quite the pair. Hikaru was perhaps the most normally dressed out of the three, even though he too was dressed for success. Decked out in khaki slacks with black sandals and a black button-up shirt with the Konoha leaf symbol in silver thread on the back. He was a very sharply dressed little boy. Genmaki merely plodded along, seemingly oblivious to all the stares they were getting. On the inside he was swearing about having to lug around a heavy Hikaru and wishing they could have just teleported to the Hokage office. But no, Ino wanted to show off her new family and insisted on walking through town. Curse his loyalty to his master, oh thank the stars, they were finally there. X. You know, Ero Sennin, I thought I was the author of the books now. Your research really is nothing more than pervertedness. Tsunade immediately shot up and glared at the toad hermit, who began to whimper in fear at his punishment. An arm shot out, a cry rang out, and Jiraiya was embedded in the wall across the room while Tsunade tried to calm herself down. Now standing, her shirt had loosened even more and her tartars were spilling out. Ino had to speak up since Naruto's tongue was sufficiently tied, not that it was possible to speak with all the bee rushing to his face. Tsunade-sama, please cover yourself. Tsunade looked down and saw that her girls were bouncing freely and flushed redder than Ino's skirt. Hooking them back into the shirt and straightening herself out, she gave Naruto the evil eye. What the hell are you gawking at, brat? Seeing she wasn't going to get an answer from her stunned son, she turned to Ino and gave an apologetic grin. Finally shaking herself of her blush, she saw Hikaru in Ino's grasp with his eyes covered. She smiled seeing her grandson and opened her arms. What are you waiting for, sweetie? Come give your grandma a hug. Hikaru broke from Ino's grip and ran to Tsunade, who picked him up and enveloped him in a bone-crushing hug. It had been a long time since she had seen him except in passing, and she missed the little boy's bright smile. She sighed in contentment. He was so much like his father when he was younger and wasn't burdened with so much responsibility. She turned back to see Ino, and raised her eyebrow at the Kunoichi's attire. If she didn't know better, she was imitating Naruto and looking damn good doing it. Hearing a groan behind her, she hazarded a glance to see Naruto peeling Jiraiya off the wall and helping him back into a chair. Noticing everything was as it should be, she motioned for Naruto and Ino to have a seat while she held Hikaru in her lap. All right, now that the gang's all here, what gives me the honor of seeing you, besides a long overdue visit from my grandson? Naruto took a deep breath and let it out slowly. This was gonna be hard. A squeeze on his hand let him know that Ino was right beside him. Giving her a weak smile, he turned his attention back to Tsunade. Ba-chan, I have a secret to tell you. But not only you, I need to tell those closest to me. Ero Sennin's already here, so that just leaves Iruka-sensei and Shizune-chan. I'd like you to call Ino's parents too, since she's involved in this. I won't say a word until they all get here. What about Kakashi, Sakura and Sasuke? Don't you want them here too? Naruto's face darkened and Ino could feel a cold chill at the mention of those names. She was finding out firsthand just how powerful the link between them was. She sent a mental soothing to him and saw him visibly relax. Tsunade, my two ex-teammates are definitely out of the question. You know that. As for Kakashi, I don't want him here either. I tried to be forgiving in the past, but the more I think about how he treated me while training me, the more upset and angry I get. True, he showed me the secret behind shadow clones, but beyond that and tree climbing, I learned Jackass from him. I haven't spoken to him in years and he's made no effort to speak to me at all. I'm through with him. Tsunade frowned at this but understood. Naruto had tried to forgive and forget, but it takes two to tango, and Kakashi wasn't dancing to the same tune. He showed little to no remorse to blatantly favoring Sasuke in the past, and even now could be seen hanging out around the future Hokage. She cringed at this thought and her chakra flared just a little, but she snapped out of it when Hikaru pulled one of her pigtails, getting her attention. Yes, little one. What is it? Grandma, you need to get Mama's parents and Iruka-sensei in here soon. Daddy has a big secret and it'll make you laugh. Mama's parents. Do you mean SA? No. He means Ino's. That'll be explained too. Call Shizune and have her fetch them, then come in here herself. I'll put up a sound barrier. While Shizune was playing messenger girl, Naruto was busy putting up a sound barrier. Ino was chatting with Tsunade about her relationship with Naruto, and Jiraiya was playing with Hikaru while Genmaki watched with a disapproving eye. He liked Jiraiya well enough, it was just that the man's idea of fun was trying to convince Hikaru to yank Tsunade's top off. Hikaru adamantly refused, saying he didn't want to see old Lady B, and sent Jiraiya into peals of laughter, earning him another trip into the plaster. Finally, after what seemed like eternity, everyone was gathered and chairs were offered. Naruto and Ino declined theirs and stood side by side, holding hands. After greeting Ino's parents, he was on really good terms with them and they adored Hikaru, not having any grandchildren of their own, yet. They hoped Naruto could remedy that. He coughed to get attention and began his story. Okay, so you all know about the Kyuubi. Well, I'm here to tell you the rest of that story. And that's how I became a demon. So any questions? Voices were immediately thrown everywhere. Persistent questions milling in the air until a very loud shout from Tsunade silenced everyone. She glared at them all and noticed that when Naruto said he was not only a demon but the Kyuubi, she had held Hikaru even tighter. She was relieved that the little boy was still human, but was still unsure that Naruto's story was true. Show us. Prove that you are the Kyuubi. Sigh. Ba-chan, I'm still Naruto. Kyuubi is Allah. I'm a king of foxes now. And as for proof. He dropped the henge and everyone's jaws hit the floor. Hikaru giggled when he saw their faces and looked up into his grandmother's eyes to see her completely speechless. He leaned up and planted a K on her cheek. Daddy looks funny when he's furry. Doesn't he, Grandma? Sunit snapped out of her stupor and looked down at him with a grin. Well dear, it's certainly better than the other times I've seen him with tails. Now hop down so I can examine him. Hikaru complied and Sunit stood before Naruto and grabbed one of his tails harshly, causing him to yelp in pain. Hey, watch it. Those things are sensitive, you know. Be gentle. She nodded and proceeded to pet the tails and moved to his whiskered cheeks, stroking them, causing him to purr. She looked back at Ino's mother and saw a familiar glint in her eyes, one of a need to rub the cute, furry thing. She motioned her over and forced Naruto to his knees so she could examine his ears. Ino's mother, heretofore known as Yuka, for lack of a better name, sidled over and began to scratch an ear while Sunit scratched the other. A blissful smile came over Naruto's face, his tongue rolled out one side, and his tails wagged happily, some thumping the two women and sending them into giggle fits while the men laughed hard and long. Here before them was a demon lord reduced to a mere pulp at the mere scratch of an ear. Ino laughed in spite of herself, seeing her so serene. Then she remembered the second part of their visit. Mom, it's good to see that you accept Naruto as a demon, because that's the second part of our calling you here. As you all know, I've been going out with Naruto for 6 months now and I couldn't be happier. I just recently found out about his being a demon and to tell you the truth I didn't care. I love him. Plain and simple. And now for my part of the secret. With that she dropped her own henge and revealed her royal purple tail and ears. Gasps were heard around the room until they heard Hikaru giggle once again while playing with Ino's tails. Mama looks pretty with a tail, doesn't she? Yuka smiled at the innocence of the little boy. He was a natural icebreaker. Any negative thoughts about Ino's transformation were thrown aside when it was revealed that, yes, Ino was more beautiful with her new appendages. They made her look otherworldly and more goddess-like. She walked to her daughter and along with Inoiki, gave her a hug. Oh sweetie, you do look lovely. Now care to tell us why you have a tail? Thus began Ino's tale of how she became queen of the foxes. Eyes went wide and mouths opened at the tale, and when she told of how she and Naruto were now Yuka threw herself at Naruto and cried into his sea, confusing the young demon. Thank God you two finally got together officially. I thought Ino was never going to get married the way she was going. And now I find out that not only is she married, she's a queen. Calling her princess when she was little seems appropriate now. Of course I expect grandchildren and I'm sure Sunid-sama wants more as well. Mom, you're babbling. Be still. Now then, we have a more pressing matter than grandbabies at the moment. Naruto only has a year left in this plane before he has to go the domain of the foxes and rule there. There are certain things we must accomplish before that. Genmaki, bring forth the scroll. Genmaki waddled forth with a giant scroll on his back and flipped it into the air, letting it land and unroll with flair before stepping back into the shadows of the room. Sunit, Jiraiya, Hikaru, and Ino step forth. I have a gift for all of you. This, Sunit, Hokage of Konohagakure, is the summon scroll for foxes, my gift to Konoha. You four shall be the signers and holders of the scroll until Hikaru comes of age, where it will be passed down through his family through the generations, each becoming the new fox Sennin. Hikaru, as my son, you shall be the first to sign. Sign your name in your own B and put a handprint at the bottom. The rest of you follow him. And so it came that they each signed the scroll, and once done, it rolled shut and puffed out of existence. Naruto smiled at all of them and clapped his hands. Well, now that that part of the business is out of the way, I would like to say thank you to all of you for accepting mine and Ino's love and status as royalty in a demon realm. Now each of you summon a fox. Hikaru, Genmaki is your personal summon, so he won't need to be summoned. He'll be with you forever. Now the rest of you, no seals needed, no chakra needed, this is my gift. A summon without burden. Now do it. 3 cries of Kuchio's no Jutsu rang out in the office, and with 3 bursts of flame, a yellow fox, a red fox, and a green fox arrived in the office, bowing low to Naruto and then to Ino. The green fox, larger than the rest and having 4 tails, spoke for the rest. Our Lord Naruto, such a pleasant surprise to meet you. I am Gero, the red one is Akane, and the golden one is Isane. We are honored to meet you all, Lord Jiraiya, Lady Sunit, and of course Queen Ino. How may we serve you? I simply had them call you here to test the contract, Gero. I am happy that you approve of my choice of scroll bearers. My son is partnered to Genmaki. I myself will be the boss summons and shall handle all matters in the human world accordingly if need be. I don't want to put a strain on our people. Hearing Naruto speak with such regal bearing astounded everyone except Ino, it just made her want to ravage him, and he chuckled nervously at their looks. Tsunade was the first to recover. What do you mean, boss summon? Just how powerful are you? Remember that it was my chakra that held the Kyuubi at bay. Since I'm the new Kyuubi and am a fusion of my power and his, that makes me a total of a little over 18 tails of power. Of course 9 is as high as you can go, but I'm the most powerful being alive right now. Too bad I was shut out from being Hokage, ha. No one would ever attack us with a fox demon for a leader with near limitless amounts of chakra. Iruka finally found his voice after absorbing the fact that the boy he thought of as a son, was now a summon, the most powerful no less. Naruto, how did all this come to be? Why do you always seem to be in the midst of trouble? Why do you have to leave us? Naruto crossed to the man and enveloped him in a hug. Iruka-sensei, I'm not leaving forever. As a Beiyu I have the power to come and go as I please in this world. But I have other responsibilities now and I can't ignore them. In a way, I got my wish. I'm a leader and I'm acknowledged. I'm happy. I have a beautiful M and a wonderful son. You guys are my family. Let Konoha be stupid and resentful of me. When the time comes, I'll still protect them. Let Sasuke be Hokage, I'm something more. I have what his precious master always wanted. And what's that, Naruto? Everlasting life. I'm immortal now, Iruka-sensei. Answer is Ino. We'll protect Konoha forever or until we deem them unworthy of our protection. But as long as our family is happy here, we will remain. Shizune came forward and enveloped him in a hug and AK on the cheek. I'm happy for you, Naruto-kun. You finally got what your heart desires. And all it cost you was your mortality. I'm proud of you, little brother. Thank you, sister. I love you too. Inoki and Yuka came next. Naruto, you have no idea how happy I am that my little girl chose you over the Uchiha she used to crush on. Daddy. Now pumpkin, I'm just teasing. Naruto, if you ever hurt my little girl, demon or not, I'll see you and then KU, clear. Crystal, sir. Good. Inoki s him on the back and was surprised to see he didn't budge an inch. Yuka then made her way forward and enveloped him in a motherly hug and whispered in his ear. I want grandbabies by the end of the year or your mister. Mom. What? How did you? Oh, that's right, super hearing. Now then, what about a wedding? We already am by demon law, I don't think we need anything else. I don't think so. My baby girl is getting married in a church and that's final. There's so much to prepare. Invitations, dress, bridesmaids, ooh. And with that squeal the girls launched into a frenzy, leaving the males confused and slightly fearful for the future. Naruto leaned over to Inoki and whispered in his ear. Hey, this wedding thing isn't going to hurt, is it? I mean, how hard could it be? Ever been kicked in the balls, kid? Yeah, why? It's gonna hurt like that, except forever. Or damn. The men all cringed at the thought of a wedding and stood forlorn until Naruto turned and went to retrieve his new family. Unbeknownst to him, the older men all had predatory smiles on their faces. Bachelor parties are always so much fun. Getting back home was easier than getting to the Hokage Tower. After inviting her mother and father over for dinner, and threatening Naruto so that he invited the rest of the party, they simply teleported back home and everyone collapsed on the couch. Hikaru, exhausted from playing with the older men all day, was asleep in Ino's arms while she played with his hair, trying to get it to straighten out, which much to her dismay, was like trying to straighten a coiled spring. Naruto was stroking the fur of an exhausted Genmaki. Making that many trips to the Fox domain in one day was tiring even for him. Both Naruto and Ino sighed at the same time and looked lovingly at each other. Let's get these guys to bed and hit the hay. I'm bushed. With that they picked up their respective bundles and made their way forward. After changing Hikaru into his pajamas and flopping Genmaki onto a pillow, they made their way to their bedroom. Not even bothering with bedclothes, they simply fell into bed nude and wrapped their arms and tails around each other, sighing happily in contentment, too exhausted to do anything strenuous. To Ino it felt so good to just lay there with no expectation of doing anything other than feeling comfortable. It was still an odd feeling, since all the guys before Naruto expected something every night. She smiled into his shoulder and licked his mark, making him shudder. He looked at her with a raised eyebrow. Otherworldly stamina or not, he was still tired. Don't worry, dear, I just wanted to see your reaction. I like making you jump. Keeps you on your toes. Now then, why did you want me to sign the scroll? Because when I leave, you're staying here in the human world. What? I don't think I heard you right. My place is beside you as queen. Your place is here beside Hikaru as his mother. I'm leaving him in your capable hands, and when he enters the academy I want you to be his Junin instructor. I'll help you, of course. And I'll be home every night and at least 2 days a week. This is still my home after all. But Hikaru is human and can't come with us. I need you to take care of him while I can't. Come on, babe. I'll make it worth your while. Ino glared at him for a moment and then smirked. Beach-eating bastard. That's not fair, biting my mark. What if I bit your? You won't if you know what's good for you. Oh really? Why's that? I outrank you, here and there. You bite me and I'll demote you to, well, damn, you're still a one-tail, so I can't do much there. Ah, I know. I'll make you babysit for all the new fox mothers. That doesn't sound so bad. I like babies. Foxes tend to have litters of up to 4 or more, and there are literally thousands of demonesses in our kingdom. Good night, dear. I have a headache tonight. You evil little bee. The silence in the air was deafening until the clink of a dropped fork broke it. Ino stared at her and narrowed her eyes in disbelief. What the hell do you mean you don't know anything about weddings? You were married once, weren't you? Head nodded in agreement and others voiced their opinions on the matter. Naruto just sighed and wondered why he had agreed to this dinner date with his new family. Ino's parents were dumbstruck and the looks from Tsunade and the others wasn't helping him any. Putting his hands to his temples he rubbed them, trying to make the headache go away. Ino, I was married. That's true. But I never had a wedding. Sakura was pregnant with Hikaru by a couple of months and didn't want to have a wedding. And Tsunade should know this since she was the one who signed the papers. He glared at her pointedly and Tsunade took that moment to knock her sake back and avoid eye contact. Looking away from his mother for the moment, he locked eyes with Ino's parents. Yuka had tears in her eyes and Inoiki had a stupid look on his face. You mean to tell all of us that you have never been in a wedding? Never said vows. Never gotten to eat wedding cake? No. What does it matter anyway? As long as we love one another, what does the wedding matter? A strong wave of fear overcame him at that moment and he saw that all the women were staring at him with intent to kill. His ears lay back on his head and he began to whimper. Inoiki clapped a hand on his back and Jiraiya did the same. Naruto, you don't understand. The wedding isn't for the both of you. It's for Ino. Women have a built-in need to mark what is theirs and a wedding is their way of showing you off and saying, this is mine. Hands off. Sorry kid, but if you don't do it, US. Naruto sighed and put his head in his hands. Why him? He was Kyuubi, lord of all foxes. Why did he have to do something he didn't want to do? Oh yeah, his M was evil incarnate and would make his life a living hell. Now he knew why Shikamaru called her troublesome all the time. What the hell did you just say, Naruto? All attention snapped to Ino and quizzical looks were given in her direction. Naruto raised an eyebrow. He hadn't said anything out loud, did he? He turned to Jiraiya and gave him a questioning look. Jiraiya shrugged and looked back at Ino. What do you mean by that? Naruto didn't say anything out loud. Yeah, I only thought that. I didn't speak out loud. Genmaki did say that our link was strong. Let's test drive this. Hey Ino, here's what I plan on doing to you tonight. The only thing they saw was Ino turn red and fall out of her chair, a small smile on her face and dripping from her nose, her tail wagging happily. After the shock wore off and Yuka and Tsunade had helped Ino back into her chair, she looked at Naruto and blushed again. Naruto just raised his eyebrows and smirked. I thought so. You read my mind and didn't even know it. Did you like my ideas, dear? Quote. I thought so. Now then, it appears that Ino can read my mind. Looks like I won't have any privacy at all for quite some time. Oh well, moving on. No, I have never been in a wedding, I have no idea what to do in one, and I'm pretty much useless at this point. Just plan what you want and tell me what time to show up. Ino looked like she was about to burst into tears. But Naruto, I wanted us to do this together. We have to. It'll be our only wedding and I want your input. We need to pick colors, arrangements. Fine, just make everything you can orange and I'll be good. You know what? You're right. I think between me, Mom, Shizune, and Lady Tsunade we can get the job done. Oh my god, why did I think he would want something other than orange? I heard that. Ino glanced across the table at him with wide eyes. You heard me. Yes, I did. It appears we can converse without actually speaking. A side effect of your family's jutsu, no doubt. Oh really? Well then, allow me to return the favor and tell you what I'm going to do to you on our wedding night. Everyone was looking back and forth from Ino to Naruto since neither had spoken for several minutes. Suddenly, Naruto flushed red and passed out, muttering things about evil and whipped cream. Jiraiya's infamous lecherous grin spread across his face and he immediately figured out what was going on. He smirked at Ino, sending a shiver down her spine. So, care to tell everyone what you and the brat have been telepathically telling each other? I can make several educated guesses, but he never got to finish since Tsunade sent him into the wall and Yuka walked over to kick him in the balls. Shizune would have done something, but all the fun things were taken. She just pouted in her chair. Iruka cleared his tea to get everyone's attention. I believe we were here to have a nice, calm, normal dinner. And also to discuss wedding plans. Please stay on track. I have enough problems being the only adult in a room full of children. Don't make me the only adult in a room full of adults. Tsunade stuck her tongue out at him and crossed her arms in a huff. Fine, spoilsport. We'll get back on track. But you have to arrange everything on Naruto's side. Iruka groaned and covered his face. That was brilliant, Iruka. You walked right into that one. Konoha had been a fairly quiet town since Naruto had matured. Sure, there was the occasional prankster that tried to be an upstart, but no one would ever match Uzumaki Naruto for sheer quality. This particular morning, however, was punctuated by high-pitched squeals and several grunts and groans. The reason? The girls, Ino, Tsunade, Shizune, and Yuka, were dragging the guys, Naruto, Iruka, Jiraiya, Inoki, and unfortunately for him, Hikaru, around town to make arrangements for the wedding. Naruto wanted Ichiraku's to cater but was immediately shot down by all the women, and even Ayami refused when she heard about it, citing that a wedding deserved more proper fare, and sent Naruto into whimpers again. Hikaru merely looked around in awe at the whirlwind that was forming around him. His mother was so excited she was nearly hyperventilating and his father was about to have a conniption fit. He didn't know what to think. Ino finally got to the shop she wanted after making everyone taste several wedding cakes. No one complained about that, and picking out invitations and bouquets could have been done at any time, but they were passing her parents' shop, so why not? Closing parenthesis. The finest clothing store in Konoha was ahead, bringing excited squeals from the women and groans from the men. The girls were excited to try on dresses, the men were ready to bolt in a heartbeat. Even little Hikaru was fidgeting badly. With a, "Let's go," Ino led the charge into the shop. Naruto sighed heavily. He had already been dressed up in no less than 5 tuxes and 13 kimonos. He was tired, he was hungry, and he was starting to get agitated with Jiraiya. The old man seemed to thrive off of seeing the girls in tight-fitting clothes and trying to convince Hikaru to do things to them when they weren't looking. Iruka was off in his own little world and Inoki was just as excited as the women. It wasn't every day your daughter got married, he reasoned. Ino had finally gotten around to trying on dresses and he wasn't allowed to see her until she had found the perfect one. He groaned, thinking of how much this was going to cost. True, most of the time the bride's parents paid for most, but Naruto was nothing if not self-sufficient. He refused to allow him to shoulder the amount alone. Not like with his book sales, he wouldn't have the money back in a month. And to see Ino happy, it was all worth it. Giggling and cries of, "No, that's not quite right either," rang out for what seemed like hours. Naruto had fallen asleep on a bench and Hikaru had laid out lengthwise on it, with his head resting on his father's leg. Jiraiya had resigned himself to reading a magazine, hoping to see a little cleavage, and Iruka was dozing in a chair. This is the scene Ino walked in on. She looked at Naruto and Hikaru and, awed, as did the rest of the troupe. The two of them looked adorable in that position, but Ino had a goal in mind. With a load, a hum, all the men woke up. Naruto barely opened his eyes and see them in the direction of the noise and closed them again. Realizing what, or rather who, was standing there, they immediately snapped back open and his end damn near broke trying to swivel to see her. Only one word came to mind when he saw her. Beautiful. Ino blushed and tried to cover her cheeks to hide it, but her mother wrenched her hands away and threw them down to her sides. Ino quickly clasped them in front of her and looked down in embarrassment. She had meant to come out and look extremely for Naruto, but he had blown that out of the water by calling her beautiful. Naruto took his embarrassment that she didn't like the dress and was forced to come out in it. He scowled and stood up. Walking to her, he circled her like a hungry animal and looked at her from every angle. It was a pure white, although her pureness was up for debate in Naruto's mind, and exposed her shoulders. The veil was thrown back behind her head and the train was especially long. It was exquisite. Through with his analysis, he smiled and stood in front of her once again. He lifted her chin up with his fingers so that she looked him in the eye. What do you think? What do you think? Do you like the dress? Yes, I love it. It makes me look radiant, startling, beautiful. Ino, you could dress in a burlap sack for all I care and you'd still be the most beautiful woman in the world. A chorus of AWWWS rang out through the shop and the pair jerked around to see everyone staring. Naruto put on his best foxy grin and scratched the back of his head. Well, it's true. Nobody was able to stand up straight for 15 minutes after laughing so hard. The shopping for bridesmaids' dresses went just as well. The only problem was when they got to Tsunade. She was going to be performing the nuptials, but Naruto insisted that she have a formal kimono for the occasion. Her bust line was the problem because of her rather large assets. The kimono they had settled on made her squeal with happiness. It was made of silk and hugged her body perfectly. And best of all, I don't have to pay for it. Tsunade thought. She could use it for more than the wedding, and if she played her cards right, maybe she could convince her son to buy her a few more sets of clothes. She liked her normal attire well enough, but it pays to be able to impress dignitaries and such. She adjusted herself one more time and stepped out of the dressing room. The silence she walked in on made her nervous. She raised an eyebrow and swept her eyes over the crowd. You don't like it? I thought it was a perfect fit. Jiraiya, unfortunately for him, was the first to offer his thoughts. Damn woman. If I knew you looked that good in a kimono, I would have bought some for you years ago. The way they make those girls of yours pop. He never got to finish that sentence since Naruto bashed him over the head, knocking him out. Goddamn pervert. Gotta love him, but he can ruin anything with that mind of his. Naruto turned back to see all the women with angry looks on their faces and Tsunade with her arms crossed over her sea. He decided that discretion would be the better part of valor and hauled the old pervert out of the store by the collar of his shirt. Taking him home gave Naruto a chance to get outside and away from the wedding frenzy in any event. It only took a few minutes to deposit Jiraiya on his couch and then return to the clothing store to find everyone waiting for him. Ino and her mother had already made all the arrangements for clothing and just needed his signature. Inoki had nearly had a stroke when he saw the price tag and was still in shock, sitting in a chair in the corner. Naruto glanced at the price at the bottom of the paper and shrugged, while walking over to his future father-in-law. He knelt down and whispered in the man's ear. Don't worry about the price. I got you covered. With what I make, it's not even a dent, and besides, it's all worth it to see Ino smile. Inoki grinned and nodded. He thanked whatever gods were above that he had a rich son-in-law. This would definitely make retirement a lot easier. He cracked his N and stood to face the troop, only to see his daughter fussing over her adopted son. He chuckled and wondered when he'd get to see his own grandchildren. He caught his wife's eyes and they both grinned. We must have been thinking the same thing. He thought. Time flew by very quickly for the little family, and the day finally came where wedding bells would be heard. Ino had invited all her friends and family to come out, and it was a large gathering. They had opted to have the ceremony on top of the Hokage mountain where there was plenty of room. The Akamikes were chosen to cater, and Naruto was basically foaming at the mouth to try some of their barbecue ramen. It was quite famous throughout Konoha. Everything was perfect and nothing could ruin this day. Naruto sighed and looked back to Tsunade. She smiled at him and gave him a peck on the cheek. She couldn't have been more proud of him that day. She wistfully thought back to the days where she planned to be married to Dan. Thinking of him always left a smile on her face. A sad smile, but a smile nonetheless. She looked once more on the men standing on the dais with her. Iruka was the best man, and Jiraiya actually looked dignified, if uncomfortable, standing in his formal kimono. Tsunade smirked at this. The old goat should be uncomfortable after foisting his books off on Naruto. Although, the boy does have a knack for the romantic and they're always well written. She admitted with a slight blush. Shaking her head, she continued awaiting the bride. Naruto looked down at his young son and smiled. The boy looked so uncomfortable holding those rings, and he hated sitting still. Feeling a pat on his shoulder, he turned his head and gazed at Iruka. Looking further past, he saw a widely grinning Jiraiya. So brat, you ready for this? You really only want one lady? Look across the aisle there. There's plenty more than just Ino, you know. The Toad Sennin's remarks got him a sharp elbow in the gut from Iruka, and many raised eyebrows, wondering what he could have said to elicit such a reaction from the normally mild schoolteacher. Naruto turned and took in the sight of all his bridesmaids, all dressed in matching kimonos. Hinata and Tenten looked lovely as always. His blushing bride was nowhere to be seen at the moment. Removing his eyes from the lovely ladies in front of him, he surveyed the crowd. Everyone was here, it seemed. He smiled at all of his friends until he came to a certain pair. He scowled and his eyes narrowed. He hadn't wanted to invite Sasuke and Sakura, but Tsunade told him it would be in bad taste not to invite the future Hokage, no matter how much everyone may dislike him. He had begrudgingly agreed, but he had hoped they would have the good taste not to show up. So much for that idea. He gritted his teeth when he saw Sasuke with that same self-important smirk he always had, his arm around Sakura's shoulders. She didn't look happy to be there. In fact, she looked downright uncomfortable and hesitant, like she had been drugged there. Oh well, not my problem, thought Naruto. A sudden whirlwind of sand in front of him caught his attention out of the corner of his eyes, and his scowl turned to a wide grin. Gaara and his family appeared right in front of the dais. Walking down the steps, Naruto embraced his friend. I see you were able to make it, my brother. I'm happy that you are here. Ah, and hello to you too, Kaoru. I haven't seen you in months. How are you? The little girl paid him no mind, however, and made her way to stand by Hikaru, talking with him animatedly, while the poor boy tried to look for escape. Naruto, Gaara, and Gaara's wife Matsuri laughed at the boy's predicament. Our young love. It appears that I won't have to arrange a political marriage after all, Naruto. Kaoru seems quite smitten with your son. She takes after her mother in so many ways. Once she sets her sights on something, she simply won't let go until she gets it, and even then the boy has no hope. He'll end up just like Shikamaru. Now dear, you know that Temari just has Shikamaru wrapped around her finger. He can't say no or she'll beat him up. Besides, he loves her even if he calls her troublesome. Yes, but look at how Kaoru acts toward Hikaru. I'm telling you, the poor boy doesn't stand a chance. He'll give in, I assure you. All three shared a good laugh at that and carried on their chit-chat until a familiar melody began to play. Gaara gave Naruto a reassuring smile and took his family to their seats. He nearly had to pry Kaoru away from Hikaru, but assured her that they could play afterward. Naruto looked toward the screen that was set up so that no one could see the bride, and his jaw nearly hit the floor. Escorting his little girl down the aisle was Inoki with the biggest smile on his face. The girl in question, however, was garnering more looks than anyone. Ino looked straight ahead to her. She knew she looked good, but the way everyone was staring at her, she knew she was drop-s gorgeous. Even Naruto's tongue was hanging out. She never turned her head, but her eyes were scanning the room. She secretly smiled at the turnout until she swept over a pink head and the dark one beside her. She kept up her smile on the outside, but on the inside she was doing a mental war dance. If only Tsunade hadn't made Naruto invite those two. Well, nothing they could do about it now. Finally reaching the dais, she turned to her father, who kissed her on her cheek and handed her over to her. You look beautiful, Ino. That was enough to bring tears to her eyes, but they still had to go through with vows. Oh, how she wanted this over with. Tsunade stepped forward and coughed to get the couple's attention. We are gathered here today to bring together two souls in holy matrimony. Naruto sat back in his chair at the head of the table by his wife and sighed in happiness. The wedding now over, everyone had moved to take in the excellent food of the Akamaikas, and man was it ever good. Naruto himself had knocked back over 10 plates and had drunk a few flasks of sake, not that it affected him. Regular sake was like drinking water, before Ino drug him onto the dance floor and they had shared their first official dance. Now kicked back and trying to regain his breath beside his he watched everyone else. Indeed Naruto. It is only with great misfortune that he has accomplished as much as he has. Gaara, I didn't hear you sneak up on us. Well, I wouldn't be much of a ninja if you heard me sneak up now, would I? Take your eyes off the two lovebirds and look at our children. Naruto and Ino looked over to the corner where they could see Kaoru and Hikaru talking with each other. Hikaru apparently was telling a funny story and Kaoru was laughing up a storm. Other children who were Hikaru's friends were gathered around and watching them with great interest and giving their input. The story finished, Kaoru laughed again and leaned in, giving Hikaru a peck on the cheek, turning the poor boy into a tomato. All the children laughed at him and he hid behind Kaoru's back until his color returned. Gaara turned back to the newlyweds and chuckled. See, I told you that the two were destined to be. Our friendship has spilled over into the new generation Naruto. And besides, their offspring will be especially strong. Two former Jinchuriki's children should make especially strong children, and I've always wanted to see how strong my grandchildren would be. Add in your strength and we've got shinobi gods. Gaara, I've already told you, leave them be. If you're right, but don't pressure them. They're young yet. Let nature take its course. We found love, didn't we? Why rush to who will find it without a problem? Hikaru has the looks to get any girl he wants, and Kaoru the same with boys. Perhaps, but I've always wanted to see how my red-headed grandchildren would look with blonde and pink streaks. Gaara and Matsuri howled with laughter, while Naruto raised his eyebrow and Ino giggled. Ino sighed, wishing the wonderful evening would go on forever. After the wedding they would be going to Suna to enjoy the oases and generally enjoy life for 2 weeks. Hikaru would be staying with Tsunade, much to Tsunade's and his pleasure. She was enjoying the glow of her wedding when she felt a tap on her shoulder. She turned up to see Sasuke with that smirk on his face and Sakura behind him with a hangdog look on hers. May I have this dance, Ino? It seems it may be the last time I get to enjoy your company. She gave Naruto a pleading look, but his gaze held fast. His eyes, however, told another story. He didn't want Sasuke touching his wife, and that made her heart flutter, but appearances have to be kept. Go ahead, Ino. It would be most unseemly if we denied the future Hokage a simple dance. Just hurry back. I wish to dance with you again. Ino nodded and let Sasuke take her hand. She had a bad feeling about this. He whisked her onto the dance floor while Sakura sat down beside Naruto. Sakura sighed on the inside as she took the chair next to Naruto. She had tried to get her courage up to talk to him many times in the past few months but never seemed to be able to. Finally she had convinced herself that she could do it at his wedding. Naruto was a naturally forgiving person and never held a grudge, even to his enemies. Stealing her resolve, she took a deep breath. Naruto, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, what did you say? I'm sorry for what I did. I left you and Hikaru all alone and I'm sorry for that. I loved you both but I wasn't in love with you. I'm sore. You're years too late for that, Sakura. I don't care anymore. I forgave you long ago but I will never forget the pain you caused. I can never forget what you and Sasuke have done. You broke my heart, fine, I can live with that. Sasuke stole my dream, fine, I can live with that. But you abandoned your son, Sakura, for a heartless bastard and I will never forget that. Don't think I'm the same person you married, Sakura. That man's the night you left. I'm Uzumaki Naruto, reborn. I'm no one's plaything and my heart and soul belong to Ino now. I am bound to her and she me through more than words and a written contract. We are bound at the soul. I'm happy for you, Naruto. I really am. I just wish that I could undo some of what I've done. Why show remorse now, Sakura? It didn't bother you back then, why should it now? Your inner voice never spoke up to tell you different back then, so no words you say now will put anything right. And as far as Sasuke goes, what the F? Why did Ino just S him? As soon as Sasuke had whisked Ino onto the dance floor, his smirk widened even more. Ino bit her lip and tried not to let him get to her. This was obviously a trick or something. So Ino, How does it feel to be married to a loser and a dobe? I wasn't sure your standards had fallen so low that you would just be with anyone. I thought I still held a place in your heart. You lost any place you might have held in my heart when you left us for the pedophile. I hope he wasn't too rough on you. Or did he eventually have to exchange the stick in your A for a whole tree after he reamed you? Sasuke scowled at her verbal jab. He was losing this war of words already and he wanted to get her good and upset before he handed her back to Naruto. He wanted her to question his humanity and his loyalty. You know the dobe still loves Sakura. I bet he'd leave you for her in a heartbeat if he could. And for your information, nothing ever came near my A. Ino smiled sweetly. She was right. This was a way to try to get her to doubt Naruto and she was now winning the war. No reason to let up now. Well, I'm happy to hear that you're still a virgin there. And as far as Naruto and me, he would never leave me. I'm his queen and he's my king. We're meant to be, bound at the soul. You pathetic little worm, would never understand love on that level, if you've ever understood love at all. So F off. Sasuke ground his teeth together. He wanted this be upset and quick. No one talked to him that way. No one. The smirk on his face got sickly big and he growled out his words. Well then, if that's the way you want it, when I become Hokage, the first thing I'm going to do is declare the two of you unfit parents and place Hikaru under my care. After he graduates from the academy, I'll send him on the most dangerous mission I can find and then we'll see how damn smug you are. Ino's reply was a feral growl and AS that could have disintegrated steel, aimed at his jaw. The festivities immediately came to a halt and Naruto was beside Ino in an instant. What happened? This threatened to take Hikaru away from us when he became Hokage. I merely showed him what I thought of the idea. Tsunade made her way over and tried to establish a form of diplomacy by asking what happened. She was answered with a growl from Naruto that made everyone back up except Ino, who offered her own growl to his. Sasuke simply stood there smirking. Well dobe, if you think you can do anything about it, fight me. If you win, I'll leave your family be. But everyone knows you can't defeat me. You never could. You're right Sasuke. The old Uzumaki Naruto never could have beaten you. He was too kind and forgiving. However, now I have a family to take care of. You are of no consequence anymore. And you have tried to ruin one of the happiest days of my life. I'll never forgive you for that. As for your offer, of course I'll fight you. Tsunade immediately stepped forward. Naruto, think about this. You can't fight the future Hokage. It would look bad. Think of this as my wedding gift to Ino. He has insulted her and I can't let that happen. Honor demands it. Besides, there are plenty of people here who would love to see him taken down a peg or 100. His arrogance knows no bounds. Hatake, I know you're here. Come out of hiding. I saw you in the back. Kakashi stepped forward, his eyes cast toward the ground. It had been years since Naruto had even acknowledged him in public and now the only reason he called on him was because his favorite student had shamed the idiot of Team 7. He was ashamed of himself but he never apologized to anyone, why start now? Looking up he gazed into the taller blonde's eyes. Yes Naruto, how can I help you? I want you to referee a match between myself and Uchiha Sasuke. Only stop when one of us is incapacitated. Understand? Understood. But are you both going to fight like that? At that Sasuke peeled off his kimono, revealing his battle garb. Naruto narrowed his eyes. You planned this. You planned to ruin our wedding day. You bastard. So what? I'm an Uchiha, we do what we please. Besides, it's not like I'm going to get dirty fighting you. Naruto glared back at Kakashi and cracked his knuckles. He turned to all the people and saw them watching in anticipation. Kiba and Lee, of course, were the ones to break the silence. Kick his Naruto. Show him what it means to be an actual ninja. Naruto put on a foxy grin and kissed his wife on the lips before whispering in her ear. Take Hikaru and stand next to Gaara. This could get messy but it won't take more than 5 minutes. Naruto, you're not going to hurt him too bad are you? Nah, I'm just going to break a few bones and make sure he can't have any more children. Ino giggled, nodded, and took Hikaru and herself to stand next to Gaara. She smiled at the Kazekage, who raised an eyebrow. You might want to put up a sand shield every now and then. He's not going to hold back. Tsunade put her hand on Naruto's shoulder and bade him to lean down. He complied and listened to her. Don't hurt him too bad, Naruto. He deserves it, but the council would have your hide for it. Promise me you won't go all out. I promise to go no more than 4 tails. He isn't worth more than that. Wish me luck, Bar-chan, and let everyone know that after this the festivities continue. Tsunade nodded and turned to the throng. All right everyone. This match will be underway soon and then we will continue with the party. Hokage, start when ready. Kakashi coughed and turned to Sasuke and asked if he was ready. He got a nod. He turned to Naruto and saw him still in his kimono. He raised an eyebrow and asked if Naruto was going to fight in that. His response was a snort and a snap of the fingers. Naruto went up in a blaze of fire, causing Kakashi to raise his arms to fend off the heat. When the flames Naruto stood there in a black battle gi and black pants with a red sash. On his back was the kanji for Forsaken Samaritan, surrounded by 9 golden foxtails. He wore no shoes but his feet and ankles were taped, his toes exposed. He wore no hitai but had a bandana with the kanji for bad on it. His wrists and hands were taped and his hair was wild, flowing with the breeze. He appeared as he did in his younger days, red eyes and extended fangs and claws. He had decided to stay human for this exhibition for the most part and not flaunt his demonic form. Ino was slightly disappointed that her husband had decided not to show his beauty. It still got her hot and bothered when he did, but decided it was for the best. Everyone was in awe at the change and whispered that perhaps Sasuke had picked a fight he should not have. Naruto merely rounded on Kakashi, who still had a dumbfounded look on his face. Now we may begin. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.